Hi, I'm Chris Sikora. We're going to step through exercise 3 in AutoCAD 2021. As you can see on the screen, that's our goal, and it's a forged ratchet body. And some of the features on it are, we have the head here that has some pockets, it has a recess, so we're going to learn the offset tool. We also have draft on the part, so we're going to learn how to put draft. Now, those of you who aren't familiar with what draft is, or a taper, it puts an angle on items so they could pull out of a mold typically. So it's meant for manufacturing in many cases, sometimes aesthetics as well, but we're going to see how that's done. So we're going to look at multiple ways to create this. So let's begin. Now, first of all, the training guide could be found on vertanu1.com, instructional manuals, and I'm just using the Autodesk Inventor training guide for right now until I could write the training guide for AutoCAD. And this exercise is actually starts on like page 30 or 29, and it goes through all the dimensions are in there and how to build it, and I just have to update it for AutoCAD. So let's begin. First of all, I'm going to go to New Part, and we're going to use the AutoCAD 3D. And again, I'm not setting anything significantly different than the installed version. Okay, so I don't really modify it heavily. One thing though, I do like to go right away and use 2D wireframe, and we toggle back and forth, but 2D wireframe is really nice. And then also I like to go to the top view orientation and just rotate it right here 90 degrees counterclockwise so that the Y is in the upward direction. Now we're going to start off with some sketching. We're going to sketch the head and create the head and the features in it, and then we're going to create the other features. Again, there's probably 30 ways to build this model. All right, I went to the line tool, and then I'm going to go down here to the snap on, and that's just so I could snap at the origin. Click, and I'm going to drag this up. We want this to be 0.75 in height, and that's actually going to be the distance between the two arcs that we'll see on the head of the ratchet. So I'm going to hit escape after I got that in there. Now I'm going to proceed. I'm going to use the center radius. And the reason I'm using the center radius is because that's in the textbook that I have. That's what I ended up using. So right away we see some issues with the snap-on, so I'm going to turn this off for the grid snap. And let's go ahead and put in, first of all, for this, we're going to put in 0.6. And then now this one we want to snap to, let's hit enter again, snap to that center, and this is going to be 0.75. Okay, now this is where we're going to use some parametrics. Now I know there's ways to make tangent lines and such, there's other methods, but I like to incorporate parametrics from time to time just to show you, because this is truly the way most CAD systems work these days. AutoCAD, like I said, I used it back starting in 1986, and the parametrics wasn't in there, but parametrics came out the next year in other CAD systems and filtered down into AutoCAD eventually too, and so it's a very nice tool. And so let's go to auto constrain, click and drag around those, hit enter. If you want to see what it did, just hit show all, and you see it just made a vertical line there. But let's go ahead and we're going to start adding some dimensions here. So let's go to the radius tool and click on the bottom there, drag that down, click, it's already at 0.6, so just hit enter. And let's hit enter again, click on this edge. My preview isn't showing, but that's okay, 0.75. All right, one other thing I'd like to do is use the lock tool. Now by locking down either the top or the bottom point, we're in good shape. We just don't want it to move around. And I'm going to hit show all again, and you can see the lock down there. All right, so now we have some geometry there. We're ready to go. Let's go now to the home, and we're going to take the line tool. And over here on the left, away from the head, click and drag a little line, maybe 1.5 inches or so at a slight angle, hit escape when you're done. And now we're going to go back to parametrics and use the tangent feature and select the circle. We'll go with the 0.75 first, and then the line, hit enter. Hit enter again, go with the circle down at the bottom and the line, and you'll see it should align to each other. So now we could just trim. So let's go over here to the trim tool, and I went to home and trim, and I'm going to trim out this in the middle and get that out of there. And then these little segments. That's why I had to draw it a little bit bigger so that you could trim it up. Now, if it wasn't aligned, you could use the extend as well. All right, now I'm going to hit escape. I'm just making that 1/2. I'm going to mirror that over to the other side. So let's go to the modify down here, find mirror, and select this line right here. Hit enter and center to this top center point, click, and we should see it on the other side. So hit no, and now we could go to trim and just trim that geometry out. It's in there. Remember, you could always hit Control-Z undo if you did it wrong, and then trim it again. I'm going to hit escape. All right, so we have the basic form of the head of the ratchet. Now, what I like to do with AutoCAD, because of the way it works, is I like to put the other details in as well. So, for example, let's go to the circle tool. We have some, actually, let's see the sizes here. You can see here we have this pocket we're going to make. The offset, don't worry about. We'll take care of the offset. There's a really nice tool for that. But these are 0.35 and 0.5 radiuses. So that means we should use the radius tool. So center radius, and just click down here, 0.35, and now hit enter again, get that center point there, drag this out, and this is going to be 0.5. All right, so we have those, and we're not done yet. Now, there are some through holes that are going to go in there as well, so let's take a look at those, and those are 0.375. And so let's go with, and those are diameter. So this time let's switch it, diameter. Enter again, 0.375. Okay, I'm going to hit Control-Z. That's strange. I'm not sure why it did that. Let's go to the diameter again and just draw that up there. Okay, 0.375. It almost looked like it took a radius there. There we go. Okay, so we have the geometry that's suitable. Now, there is a cool trick where we can make the rod that extends. It's called the transition section between the handle and the head. And we could draw it right on this plane and revolve it. But I wanted to show you how you could switch between planes. Again, those of you who used Inventor, which is a plane-based modeler, whereas this is what we call a Cartesian-based modeler, where basically you have X, Y, and Z, and it's positional, versus planes you could actually work and sketch off the planes, which is really nice. But you have the ability to do some of that here. So what I'm going to do, we'll first get this, actually we're going to go ahead and make the transition section, which is the rod, and it's 4 inches long from the center here. So let's go to the home button and see what's going on here. All right, so we need to rotate our sketch plane so that we're actually 90 degrees. So that means we need the Z to point downward. So over here, we see we have the ability to do that with the rotate. Now, and this is going to rotate around the X. So click on that. All right, and we just want that to go straight up like that. Click. And now you could see the plane is rearranged. It's been rotated 90 degrees. And so we could go now to the diameter. And right on that point, draw out a circle. Now look at that. It's rotated. So it's going to be 0.5. Enter. Now that's how you could sketch geometry on different, what they call planes in Inventor, but here it's we're just adjusting the WCS, or World Coordinate System, or the UCS. All right, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and extend that right now. So we're going to go to Extrude and click on that, hit Enter, and drag that out this way. It's going to be 4 inches. Hit Enter. All right, now we can at this time, if we want, change it to Some of you might appreciate the shaded in gray, and we could see our boss there. Let's go ahead and move on with this next thing. We're going to go ahead and extrude the bottom of this geometry. So go to extrude. Now, some of you are like, why aren't you using press pull? Press pull, it has a limitation as far as I could tell. And if someone knows a way to do this without a little trick, if you have to add draft or the taper, I know I could add it later, but I have not found a way to add it initially. So that's why I'm using extrude here. So you go to extrude. And I'm going to, this geometry, you can see it's all trimmed up, and that doesn't always work really well for an extrude. Sometimes you get a collection of surfaces. And so what I'm going to do is, I forgot, I wanted to go ahead and use, we've used this before, the join tool. Let's join this geometry on the outer edge so that it extrudes as a solid. It's guaranteed that way. All right, now go to extrude. We can now click on that outer edge. Hit enter, and down here we see taper, and we want it to be, I believe, -7. Actually, I'm sorry, just 7. Let's go back there, taper. So just 7. All right, and we're going to have it go in the downward direction, and this is only 0.5. All right, now we can mirror that over to the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to mirror solid, select this geometry, hit enter. And now I like to go with 3 points. And there's, as you can see, that there's a dozen ways, but 3 points, I just know, rest assured, I click on these corners of this model pretty easily, hit enter, and it mirrors it over. So remember, it takes 3 points to make a plane, and that's what it's mirroring about. So basically, you're making the mirror plane. Now we could join all these. And so over here, we go to join, select this one here, and this one here, hit enter, and now they're one solid. Okay, now we might need now to go back to wireframe so we can see inside. Now, what I'm going to do here, I know that the geometry that we have here is going to need to be adjusted and so on. We have the through holes and we have these bosses. Let's go ahead, and I want to extrude. In fact, actually, I think if we trim this geometry out, right there. Oh, you know what? We have to get the plane back. So to make sure you get the plane back in order, just go over here to UCS World, and it flips us back. Remember, we had adjusted so we could draw that circle, the half-inch circle. So that brings us back. You could also click on World right here, and it rotates it. So now we could go back and trim on that plane some of that geometry. So I'm going to trim that out right there. And you got to be careful so that you have it looking like that. Now we could go to, I like to join it again. You don't always have to join it. I'm not entirely certain of all the rules there, but let's join it anyhow. Okay, and we'll use that a little bit later, but let's first get our offset. So now we're going to go to shaded in gray, and we're going to use, under solid, there's a really cool tool, offset edge. Select this face, and you can see you could draw this in. Now, it says specify a point. Now be careful when you enter this information. Instead, we want to go by distance. So I'm going to go down here to distance, and we're going to go ahead and type in the distance offset is 0.125. Okay, so we hit enter and then select this face, and it should go inward. So we have that offset geometry. It's a little tricky. You might have to watch me do it again. Just rewind and watch it if you get stuck on that one. All right, now we could go ahead and this one, I'm actually going to try using the push-pull. I've had some issues with push-pull every once in a while, but let's give it a try. I'm going to click on that and drag it down. This needs to be recessed 0.125. And there it worked beautifully. So most of the time it works beautiful. When I was making this earlier, I was having some difficulty sometimes, and it might have been just sloppy geometry on my part. Okay, now let's go back to home, and we could go back to wireframe. We want to put the pockets in. So for the pocket, let's go to Extrude, select that like figure 8, and hit enter. And we know this needs to be 0.75 deep, so hit 0.75. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move it. And so to move that, we go to the Move tool, select the geometry. Now it's 1 inch thick, and so we have to recess at 0.25 deep. So, or we have to lower it by 0.25 so that it comes out correctly. So let's hit enter because we've selected the object. And we're going to go ahead, and here you have displacement, and you have 0, 0, 0, so X, Y, and Z. And we're looking at just adjusting the Z. So go to 0, type in 0, comma, 0, comma, point, or minus, because you're going down 0.25. So minus 0.25 for the Z. This goes X, Y, and Z in that order. Hit enter, and there it is. It's actually recessed down a bit. So let's go back to shades of gray. There we could see it. Let us now, we're going to go to subtract. Select this body here, hit enter. Okay, now make sure, I had to hit it twice. I'm not sure if my Bluetooth keyboard might have screwed up or not. But then select this one after the other one turns gray again. Hit enter, and now we have our recess. Okay, and I just realized actually I should have offset it for the 0.125. That was the recess. So let's try the push-pull or press-pull. So go ahead and select that surface, bring it down, and type in point. See, my pointer is down below the model. You can actually bring it really low if you want. And it's just 0.125. I should have offset the geometry earlier, but instead of 0.25, I should have made it 0.375. So my mistake. Sorry about that. Okay, but a good learning experience for all of us. Now we just have to cut those in. So let's try. This is where I've had some difficulty with press-pull on these particular geometries. I'm going to go with Extrude because I want to make a video from this and I don't want to have any issues. So I'm going to hit enter, drag that down, have it go deep, hit enter, click on that one, hit enter, drag it down, click. Now we could just go to subtract. Click on this, hit enter, select both of those rods, hit enter, and our holes are there. Okay, we're almost done. We just have to make the handle section. Now, for the handle section, I'm going to go to the top view orientation here. If yours is rotated 90 degrees, that's fine. Go to the rectangle tool, draw out a rectangle over here for the handle. We're going to move it in just a moment. But you can see it needs to be 1 inch tab by 4 inches. Enter. Now go to the line tool. Now here you'll see I am actually able to select the midpoint. That's because I have the midpoint filter turned on. Make sure yours is turned on as well for this so you could get that. And then this line needs to be 3.75. Hit escape after you got that. Now we're going to go to move here. So there's the move tool. And then select the geometry, hit enter, enter. And now the positional, we'll select this point right here, and we want that. Oh, before you do this, make sure you go down to snap. So this will force it to snap to the grid, which is centered in the model. Otherwise, it will turn out floating above where we want it. So let's get it right on there, and then click. Now hit escape, and hold shift and rotate, and you can see that should be centered. Now, if it wasn't, it was because you just didn't select the grid option. I'm going to turn off the grid, the snap to grid. And let's go to Extrude, select this geometry here for the handle, hit enter, and we want taper and -7. Did we have to do minus? Actually, I think it was just 7. Okay, there we go. And this is only 0.375. Enter. And let's mirror that now. So go to mirror solid, select the solid, hit enter. And again, I like the 3 points. That's what we used before. So just make sure you get these corners. There's one there, there's one there, and one there. And no, and there it is. Okay, so we have the handle. Let's Boolean this, or solid union this together. So select this model, this one, and that, hit enter. And now when you hover over it, it should all turn the same color because it's all one solid. Okay, let's work on the fillets here. Let's zoom up to the head. Just scrolling with my mouse. Get up there pretty close. There's no penalty for zooming up too far. It just makes it easier for you. And let's go to solid. We're going to go to fillet edge. The first fillets, go to radius, and we're going to set that to 0.1. Hit enter. And you're going to select these edges. And again, I've mentioned it in previous videos. I don't see it here, but if someone knows of a way of tangent propagation, please let us know on the comments below. And see, I'm going to use my Superman X-ray vision right there. Got that. Then we're going to select around this edge here and this bottom edge there. Zoom out. Let's get the handle. Just the lengths of the handle. And again, Superman X-ray vision down here. There we go. Click. And rotate. And let's get this here. That there. Hit enter 2 times. And then finally, we just have smaller radiuses of 60 thousandths that we have to put in. So fillet radius 0.06, enter, and it's just around this. And let's go ahead and select those. Now, Inventor does have tangent propagation, so you don't have to select all these edges typically when there's something when there's a radius there. That preview didn't work there, so I just kind of knew I was floating over it and went with it, and it selected it. Okay, almost done. Let's zoom up really close in that one. You could rotate too if you like. I'm being lazy, not rotating. Trying to use my X-ray vision here. And it's working quite well. Okay, hit enter and enter. And there we have it. We have our ratchet completed. And that then just go to File, Save As, capital E3, or just File, Save, E3, whatever, and you're done. And that concludes exercise 3.